All right. So, yes, I know we're being recorded. All right. So we are going to call to order the March 14th Parks and Recs Commission meeting on Pi Day. It is 7:03. Nice. Call to order. Thank you. All right. So commissioner updates. Do we have any commissioner updates?
I guess CPC is continuing to meet and discuss and try and talk to other boards about the possibility of adjusting the CPA surcharge from 1% to 3%, or potentially something in between. But primarily driven by the fact that the CPA match is larger if you get up to 3%. So based on last year, under 3%, the funds were matched at about 30%. And at 3%, we'd probably get somewhere around 37-ish% of a match. So it's a fairly substantial jump in the match. So that's what's going on at CPC.
All right. Any other updates?
I know Alicia will get into it more, but the Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee has also met, and everything is going well with them. The most important piece of the pie being that everything is on time right now, so all things are moving forward. That's it.
All right. Anyone else? So and you have to forgive me here, but I think that in between the last two meetings, the sports council met, and things went fine. They gave all their sort of updates to Tim and John and Alicia are just sort of working through all the information that they gave them, and there didn't seem to be any, major roadblocks or concerns coming up. I think the only thing that might come up eventually is, and this might be for a later meeting, I think, aren't we due for sort of like a increase in the fees for sports, or did that already happen?
We just did that a few months back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, but yep, other than that, there was no major concerns at the sports council meeting. All right, with nothing else, Alicia, I'm sorry, I can't see do you mind going through the agenda? Is that okay? Because I just, actually I can pull it up. There we go.
That's okay. Minutes are next for the February Park Commission meeting.
Okay, so can we get them, if everyone's read and reviewed the Parks Commission, the minutes from the 2/14 meeting, can we get a motion for acceptance of those?
So moved.
And
all right, all those in, sorry, who had that second? All right, Aaron, all those in favor? Oh, no, we don't. Yeah, all in favor?
No, we should do a roll call.
Yeah, you gotta do roll call. Sorry.
Oh, we're gonna do roll call for Zoom.
Yep.
Is that what it is now?
Yep.
I just got used to doing it the other way. All right, so let's see. Saul.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
And Scott.
Yes, sir.
And Kate.
Yes.
All right. So that is it's all set. All right. So I think we have the approval of program coordinator hire.
Yep. So we have completed our interviews We had a first round of interviews with 7 applicants, and Kevin, John, Tim, myself, and Brent were all in that interview process. From there, we invited 2 people to come back to interview for a round 2. And from that round 2, we have chosen Ken Krillo to become the program coordinator. So Ken has 4 years of experience in after-school program management. He comes to us from the world of tech. So he has a lot of experience with marketing and special event planning and operations. So he has a very amazing can-do attitude, which is really great. And as soon as we get him in, we'll get him trained up with all of the Red Cross lifeguard certifications so that we can be sure he's ready to go for the summer. And his first day is scheduled for March 22nd. Are there any questions the rest of you might have that, Kevin was in the process, but not everybody else was, obviously.
Is there a specific area that he's going to be focused on?
Yep. So his focus will be on the club, the after-school program. And then he also will be in charge of the operations down at Long Lake Beach in the summertime. Obviously with Tim, but that's going to be, we're trying to transition that so that more of that would be on the program coordinator side of things to allow Tim, freed up to be able to do some other stuff as the assistant director.
Great. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. So do we have to vote for approval of this? Is that correct?
Yeah, just to make it like solidified for sure.
All right. So can we get a motion for approval of program coordinator hire, please?
I'll make the motion for the approval of the program coordinator hire.
I will
Second.
second that.
Oh,
It goes to Kate. Aaron, you already had your turn.
That wasn't even me. It wasn't even me.
All right. So we have to do a roll call vote. So Scott,
yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Saul,
Yes.
and Kevin is a yes. All right. MRPA conference and ACA conference.
Yeah. So these two have always been kind of back to back. Ironically, MRPA decided to move a week later to try to get a little bit of space between American Camp Association, and American Camp Association did the same thing. So we are back to back again. So for the MRPA conference, we take most of the staff. So Kelsey will be staying. She will be holding down the fort while we're away for those 3 days. So March 27th, 28th, and 29th. And then Brent and Kaz will go to Manchester, New Hampshire, and will be there for the American Camp Association conference. So both Kaz and Brent will be out for that entire week. And Tim and I will only be out partially, but otherwise we do have office coverage and the programs will still run as normal. So yeah.
Where is the MRPA?
It's going to be in Norwood, Massachusetts this year. It used to be at the Cape the last couple of years, but they switched up the locations. Okay.
All right. Any more questions about either conference? All right. On to special events.
All right. So we have pretty much everything scheduled moving forward into the summer. The next few that are coming up is we will be doing the bunny breakfast and egg hunt, which we team up with the Elder and Human Services to be able to run that event. So that will be on Saturday, April 1st. We'll run it very much like we did last year. So there'll be registrations for seats to be able to get a specific time to have breakfast with the bunny. And then the egg hunt will happen after the breakfast times have all finished. And then we're bringing Touch Truck back. We decided to go back to the spring. So we had gone to fall a few years back. But we're going to stick with May. So Saturday, May 13th, we will be doing that. Location's still up in the air. So if we're very hopeful that we might be able to use the parking lot at 550 King. It just depends on if we get approval or not. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at trying to have it at a location that's going to be bigger, like we did at the Highway and Light and Electric in the past. The only issue with that is it has enough space to be able to put all of the trucks that come, but it's not a lot of space for parking. So that was a big challenge the last time we ran it at that location. But if that's where we need to have it, then we will have a game plan. We'll have volunteers to help out with parking. So it won't be so much of an issue as it has been in the past. And then spring, surprisingly, is right around the corner. So that means that Third Thursdays are on our way. So our first one this year will be in May. We'll do one in June and July. We are looking at doing something a little bit special in August. So none of that's been like completely solidified. So that's still yet to be determined. But once we have an update on if the big plans are going to work out, then we'll let you guys know as soon as possible. But for right now, these are the next special event updates or events that are coming up soon. Any questions?
Alicia,
Yeah.
where does the bunny breakfast and egg hunt typically take place?
Yeah, so last year was the first year that we did it, and we ran it in the multi-purpose room so that we were actually able to use the senior diner to do the breakfast portion of the morning. And then the egg hunt we did down on Shattuck Field at Town Hall. So I believe that is probably where we'll end up as well. But you know, if there's a different location that we potentially could find, you know, we'll look into it, maybe at a school. But the reality is, for access purposes, it's more likely going to be at Town Hall, just having the ease of the senior diner use.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else?
Do we have the same person helping out with the bunny?
No, we do not.
Oh.
A new bunny.
No, not the,
Oh.
it's the same bunny, but the individual helping the bunny will probably need a helper if any of you are interested in assisting the bunny.
I see.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I guess, Saul, since you brought up CPC, we can talk about that a little bit more. So we've kind of put a lot of thought into this. We did try to go the route with the replacement of the tennis courts and the pickleball courts by creating a project that we were going to do at Cooper Farm. And obviously that had fallen through. Now we have purchased, we being the town, have purchased 36 King Street, or the old Indian Hill Music Center. So I guess I've been having conversations with the central school office and talking more about the plan that they had where, we would renovate the 2 existing tennis courts that are at the high school and then put 2 new courts next to it so that you would have 4 courts altogether. Right now, there is no action plan to move forward to replace the tennis courts that are currently at Town Hall. And the minimum, we at least need to have a 1-for-1 replacement for what we currently have. I spoke with Liz Tradiak, the director for Elder and Human Services, and she said that more than likely August is going to be the time when they're going to break ground for the senior center. So that being said, that means that we would lose our tennis courts in August. She did say plus or minus, so it could be a little earlier, could be a little later. That still has yet to be determined, but as we're getting closer to that time of actually breaking ground, that schedule will become more solid. So one of the things that is going to happen, the next step for 36 King Street, is that they're going to do a feasibility study. I don't really like that term because the reality of a feasibility study is to do a whole plan on, what the maintenance should look like yearly, what are the utility costs going to be, etc. So this is more of a design concept that they're working on and putting a price to what that design would look like. So it's not going to talk or cover anything about maintenance or utilities, any of that stuff. We are thinking about those things, but that's just not going to be part of the feasibility study. So we could have, and we still can, put the tennis courts and the pickleball courts in with that feasibility study. However, the reality is when we start to build these, or even in this case would be a renovation, renovate these buildings, costs go up. And as soon as they go up, then we have to start, slicing things off to get the costs back down. And recreation items are usually the very first things that come off of that list. The senior center is a perfect, example of that. They had all of these like gardens and bocce ball courts and all kinds of stuff outside, and now none of that's part of the project because it costs too much money. So in this case, the big concern had always been that if we're going to take a facility offline, being the town hall tennis courts, that we should replace those in a different location. And I would have loved this to be seamlessly, but I think realistically that's not going to happen. But if we make a plan to try to move forward and potentially ask CPC for funds to be able to do this project, where we would just focus on renovating those 2 tennis courts and putting in those 2 new courts. So then that way it gives us time to figure out where, when, how all of those things will come about with the pickleball courts, knowing that won't be too far down the road. But the idea would be to get the 4 tennis courts still all together, to be able to line them with tennis and pickleball until that time comes when we're able to build those pickleball courts on their own. And then we could repaint the tennis just as tennis without having those pickleball lines, because sometimes that does get confusing having them on there. So that was a little long-winded, so my apologies. But I just wanted to throw this out here for discussion and see what you all thought of this idea of trying to do a CPC project specifically on these tennis courts, just to try to make an effort to get to that 1-to-1 replacement.
I mean, I think it makes sense. Would probably have to be at fall town meeting.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to see if I can use, so my next steps are going to be to contact Bill Murray. If you remember Bill, not the comedian, he is a landscape architect. He did the Cooper Farm design for us. So I'm going to reach out to him tomorrow and see if there's a way for him to be able to, take what he's already worked on and be able to come up with an idea of how much things would cost to do it at the high school. That way we would actually have a quoted number that we potentially, it would be really tight, and I'm not 100% sure that it could happen, but we could potentially go to a Springtown meeting to ask for those funds.
I mean, I guess we could, right. No. I mean, I don't think we would get it. Well, you could potentially put it on as a placeholder and hand it out at the meeting.
Yeah.
We would have to have a couple of CPC meetings to recommend it and approve it.
Right.
Which would be tight, but I think we are going to have a meeting on Monday, so I can at least raise it at that point.
Okay.
But I suspect that fall would be more likely.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
agree.
is it like an open application process for CPC funds? Is not like a cycle or a deadline?
No, it's the application process is open, but the funds have to be approved at town meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's sort of the gate each time, is that it's got to be one of the town meetings.
Yeah. Why? I would think that if the town took the courts away to build the new senior center, that the town would then be responsible to pay for replacement courts.
Oh, Kevin.
Call me crazy.
Careful, Kevin. That makes sense. Careful.
Careful. Yeah.
Well,
So
it's all the same bucket, right? Eventually.
Right.
It is, but I think, you sort of like put, well, it is and it isn't, it's like, I thought CPC funds were for like, refurbishing and rehabilitating open space and recreation areas.
Mhm.
And I guess,
That's what this is.
And creating.
And creation.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know it's the same sort of tax bucket, but or theoretically the same tax bucket, but it just seems like we wouldn't have to go through this process, because the town would say, well, we took these away from, the public for the senior center, so we're going to pay for them over here at the high school. But I know that that's just me being silly.
No, I think that's something, I've advocated for all of us at town to, when we make the decision on these projects, to do them holistically and to think about all of these pieces. It's something that I will continue to do. Unfortunately, that is not what happened in this case. And it falls to us to be able to ensure that this can happen moving forward. So I
guess there's also the question of, I think we continue moving forward with it, but should the application to CPC come from Park and Rec or the schools or
I was just
the
gonna,
PA's office?
I was just gonna bring up, don't two of the courts belong to the school system?
They do. So, and the land in which we would put them would still be considered to be school property. So, like I said, I've spoken with Steve, Mark. I've talked to Kelly Clenchy as well. I know that they would like to be able to work together to move forward to do this. So it would be a project where we would work together as a collaboration. So if, Steve puts in the paperwork or I put in the paperwork, we can figure that stuff out. But I think the major point is that, we are supportive of each other to be able to move forward to make this happen.
I think those are all good points, though. If we're bringing this up to town meeting, that the town would need to be positioned that this is a joint project, so that people don't say, "Oh, we don't need tennis courts," right? So that it's understood that this is critical for the school, and also because we've lost our tennis courts for the town, so it's a town project.
Yeah.
Do we know what season tennis is for the high school?
Unfortunately, it is both fall and spring.
Okay. Well.
And I know that, I don't know if I'm being silly again, but are they truly going to be open to the public if they're on school property?
Yes. And that's why previously I wouldn't say I was 100% supportive of doing this renovation without knowing that we did have Indian Hill. The full intent is to be able to have access to those courts by 36 King Street and also through the high school. So then that way, if because I do feel like it's pretty common that folks would feel uncomfortable going to a school playing on school property while school's in session. There is no law that says that you cannot do that. But I think being able to have access to it through 36, which is going to have more of that community center feeling, I would hope that people would feel more comfortable being able to use those, and they would have access to them. The only time that, we would ask them to, come back is if the schools were actually having like an actual high school tournament or something. Yeah.
And then is there any, other than resurfacing, is there any other renovation planned for the existing courts?
So I think we still have to figure this out. Ultimately, I think Steve, Mark would like to actually have a, what is it called? Post-tension concrete court. So that would mean we'd have to take the one that's in there out and replace it. They do last a lot longer, but they're also a lot more expensive because they last longer. So that's something that we will have to figure out because obviously, we have to be able to keep the costs down so that, we're not breaking the CPC bank, so to speak, just trying to get these tennis courts back up and running.
So I priced out, new tennis court surfacing, new tennis courts, 2 new courts, and it's the same, I think, stuff that you talked about there, Alicia, with basically you pour a slab and then it's almost like a tile surface on top that this court sits on. And, without demolition and removing material, it was going to be like $450,000 to replace 2 tennis courts with something like that. So It's not a cheap undertaking.
It's not at all. I think the max that a single cost for those tennis courts is about $80,000 per court. I am also reaching out. I've already started conversations with USTA to inquire if the grant funding that we had talked about previously about using at Cooper, if we would be able to use it for this project. So they had responded today and said that, we could still get grant funding. We just would have to, I'll have to sit down and talk to them about this new project. So
now, the courts we had quoted at Cooper were not this post-tension concrete?
I don't believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'll go back and look, but I don't think they were. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I see like on this little drawing here, we have separate pickleball courts. Is there any sort of restriction that will be put on the courts that they cannot be also used as pickleball courts? Because I think that will become an issue soon when the pickleball craze starts taking over Littleton, and they want that right there is 8 pickleball courts that I see in this little picture here, that will be used if, or well, could be used.
Yeah.
Well, even
We'll
potentially.
get people to be saying, hey, that's 8 pickleball courts. And, we, the elder folk who love pickleball, will love to be playing pickleball there.
Yeah, so that is something we will have to discuss, with the schools. And I think that's something that if the courts are going to be used and pickleball is going to be the use, I think there should be access allowed to it. I'd rather see people on it and playing than it just sitting there empty. But yes, I agree that there would have to be some sort of policy or agreement in place. Questions, comments, concerns? No?
No. So your next step is to start sort of like pursuing the CPC application and sort of garnering collaboration with schools and whoever else you have to.
Yeah, so ultimately, I can't really go to so I could go to the CPC with an eligibility request, but I don't feel comfortable going to the CPC until I actually have a quoted cost, because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense of saying, hey, we're going to do this project. Are you excited? Great. How much does it cost? I don't know. That's not helpful. So I want to make sure that, we have all of our ducks in line, that we're ready to go.
Is there any, working on the assumption that we could get it in and approved at Springtown meeting, is there any sort of hope that with that you could have something constructed by end of summer, or is that still like
That's
6
my
months or
hope.
next spring out?
I know this is like way out of left field, and realistically, this is like a pipe dream, but I'm still going to try, right? I really would like there to be able, I'd really like to be able to say, here you go, these tennis courts are ready to go, and then they're demolishing those ones,
Right.
It would be, that was initially my plan all along. I just didn't realize we would go through so many hiccups and, no, we're going to do this project and this and that. So I'm going to try. But I think, yeah, Saul, you're absolutely right that it's probably going to be something more realistic to see at fall town meeting, and, may potentially have to wait until next spring to even, look at fixing that. So that is a more realistic municipal government vision. But I'm going to try my darndest.
It doesn't the construction for the whatever it is, the plant or the sewer, something's going on behind. So I doubt they're going to want 2 big construction projects going on during the school year. One being the fields in the back and this in the front here. So
No, I was thinking you'd try and do this during the summer.
yeah, no, that's my thought is it would have to be the summer of this year, I think, or next summer.
Right.
And that, we can definitely work with Light and Water and be able to make sure that, we can organize this properly. we have a pretty good relationship with them. So I'm not too worried about being able to figure that out. But yeah, ideally, it wouldn't be great for both of those things to happen at the same time. I agree with that.
What is there? Do we have a current timing on that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard many dates, and it's like the end of the world, right? And that date passed, so it's this next
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So yeah, I do not have a date for you. They would like to do it this spring, summer, more towards summer, but we will see.
All right, any other discussion?
Okay. Let's see. All right, so we got director's report. So I'll throw up our finances. We're doing really great still. Like I said, this is our 6 months of the year where we start bringing in our money. And since August of last year, we've been anywhere between 15 to 50% higher than the previous year. So same thing has been happening these last couple months as well. So we're doing really well financially. I mentioned last month that the enterprise is officially closed. So we're really only spending things out of the revolving and general fund line items that we have for a few things. So yeah, it's looking good.
How are registrations for Camp T this year versus where we were last year?
We have a higher amount of registrations now than we did last year. So I don't know if people are saying, oh no, we sold out some of the weeks. So I don't know if people are trying to jump in and get their registrations earlier. I would highly suggest that people do that because we're definitely headed in that direction. But even for Teen Adventures, the numbers are up higher than they were in previous years as well. So yeah, I have a pretty good feeling that we will probably sell everything out this year, which would be a great problem to have.
Yeah, and so I know we spoke with Jen Gold.
Yep.
About more space for school so that we could get more children into Camp T. How are we doing with that progress, or are we just not knowing how many rooms we would need yet?
I know that Kaz has had conversations, and I think there was some amenability there to be able to work with us. He has been out on a medical leave for a few weeks, so we haven't really moved forward with it since then, but hopefully he'll be back tomorrow and we can start jumping in on that. And I would definitely say by next month, I'll be able to give you guys a in-depth report on all of that.
Great, thanks. Yeah, because I know that's a huge part of our revenue. So
absolutely.
More kids we can take in.
Yep. Anything else? Okay. So last month, I had asked if we could do a part-time on-call person. Kelsey has been able to work things around, and so she's going to be able to come back full-time, which is so great. We're so excited. Monday was her first day back, so we're so super happy to have her back. So she will be back in that position full-time, so we will not need that part-time help. So I have not posted that, and I will not moving forward. If that's something for some reason we need to do in the future, then I would come back and ask you for that. What else we have? As Aaron had mentioned, so the open space and recreation plan. The contract was signed with Dodson and Flinker. So they will be the contractor completing our 2023 open space and recreation plan. I had a initial conversation with them last Friday, just to kind of go over some, what I can help them out with, how can I assist, basic stuff. So the next meeting that we will have for the open space and recreation plan is on March 22nd at 5 p.m. And Dodson and the representatives from Dodson and Plinker will be there to talk about the project and present a solidified project schedule so that we can stay on time, because this is another project that's very has a very, very, very tight schedule that we really have to stay on top of to be able to hand it into the full report completed and turned into the state by November 23 next year. Yeah, this year, fall. Any questions about open space? And town meeting. So spring town meeting is scheduled for May 1st. Right now, I don't think it's going to get pushed back, but it has happened before in the past. So the warrant is currently open, but I don't believe for that much longer. So just a heads up on all of that.
End of next week, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it's really close. So that's part of, I wanted to be able to have this discussion with you guys about CPC. So if I can at least talk to the town administrator's office and say, hey, can we put, a placeholder article in, then we still will have time to work on it before it has to go out to the printer. If it, like I said, if we're able to do that. I know it's a really big if, so we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks. All right. So that's all I got for that. Our new business, John Kazanjian, speaking of him. So he has completed and obtained his certified Parks and Rec professional. Nope, that's old business. Here we go. Certification from the National Parks and Recreation Association. This is a really big deal. Tim had gotten his, a little while back. And so this is something that's kind of like the SATs of Park and Rec. So, we would definitely give Kaz a lot of congratulations on his hard work and being able to obtain that certification. So we're very proud of him. A lot of hard work goes into that. So it's pretty awesome. Okay. Old business. So just an update for you guys, because this has been talked about a bit at department meetings and things like that. So the House has passed a remote extension till March 31st, 2025. It has to be approved by the Senate. It hasn't been done yet for that to be official. So for right now, we can continue with hybrid and remote meetings. But they have to actually agree and both approve to be able to move forward for that date to be official. So that's just kind of a heads up on the Commonwealth front. And then, ta-da, come on, ta-da! So we had our Ties and Tiaras dance last month, and it was a really awesome time. And it was just so cool to see everybody out and having fun dancing. We had whole families that came out. It was pretty awesome.
And how many people did you get after registration closed?
I don't know, honestly.
But it was like at least 50, right?
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, we closed registration the night before, and everyone like panicked. So we decided to be kind and open them day of. So I think I spent the entire night staring at the computer trying to get everybody in. So, but it was totally worth it, an awesome event. And, it's one of those things that I love to be able to see our community have these, community building experiences. It's great.
That is great. I saw a lot of people asking about tickets the day of, so that's great that you were able to get more people in.
Yep. We'll always make it work somehow.
That's great.
It looks like how many, like 50, 75 people, or what was the number?
This was like towards the end of the night. So that was
Oh,
the
really?
only time I could get away from the computer. So I think maybe like half of the people had already left by then.
Oh,
So we
wow.
were close. Yeah, we were closer towards like 150.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was at Russell's at the middle school. It was packed.
Yeah.
Smelled like sweaty little kids.
You brought the whole family? Everybody came.
It was awesome. It was a blast. I'm sad there's no pictures of Tim with his flamingo pink pants on though.
We'll find another time to make that happen.
Thank you.
There must be pictures of that, right?
There's gotta be somewhere.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All right. Wow. Saul, are you voting for your own motion? Do
Yes,
we have to
sorry.
vote on
Yes.
the motion to adjourn? No, we
Yes.
don't, right?
Yes.
Do we?
Yes, I vote yes.
All right. Aaron's a yes.
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 Yes, I am.
Kate's a yes.
I'm a yes.
All right. Kevin's a yes. We
Right.
are adjourned.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Enjoy the
Right.
snow,
Toodles.
everyone.